We are going to ignore how completely busted I look within today's video, y'all, because I was not planning on filming today. The way I scrambled to get ready within like 5 minutes and throw on some foundation because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to film this video because James Charles finally addressed the situation with Kayla. And I have to say, my mind is blown because the internet is shifting right now to taking his side. But I am letting you guys know from the jump of this video, I do see some cracks within this story and I have more questions than ever. And I think that it's so bizarre that immediately as soon as James Charles posts this, like everyone is taking his side, which I do gotta say, I watched the full video within its entirety. I will be playing the full 10-minute video within today's video too for context. I do gotta say, oh, he seems very convincing with this thing. But he did release some text messages that I do want to read within today's video. And I'm like, oh, so you did know about the situation that was going down. And I'm actually glad that he released those, screenshots because it's like, okay, it shows that he knew what was going on. So therefore, I'm kind of like, oh, you're kind of proving everybody's point here. However, James Charles did do a really good job with obviously, articulating his side of the story. And I just have some questions about things. Letting you guys know from the jump of this as well, too, I did pre-film 2 other videos talking about James Charles. I'm still planning on putting those up. They are obviously going to be a little bit of old news at this point because I wasn't planning on putting this video up first because I wasn't planning on James Charles actually addressing the situation. I'm glad that he did. However, I gotta say, now more than ever, I am so interested in knowing Kayla's side of the story because now I'm so confused. People were saying before that she unfollowed James Charles. However, I went and verified myself. She is still following James Charles, but she's also following Be Better as well as Zach Sellers, okay? This guy, Zach Sellers, who you guys don't know about, before I play the clip to give you guys a little bit of context, if you guys have not seen the Be Better podcast, things are getting a little bit questionable here because obviously I stated within my video that I already filmed about James Charles. Everything's speculation. It's all alleged, obviously, to cover my end. But if you guys watch that podcast, you guys would know that he was speaking with certainty as if it was factual. And it seemed like he did have receipts. However, at the time of me filming this video, there has been no receipts leaked on his end to, validate his points. Maybe he's holding that for court or something like that because now James Charles is saying that he is going to be suing him. I do also gotta say though, like in this situation, and I'm just keeping it real, James Charles, you guys will see within his clip, he did bring up a point of this guy, Zach Sellers, going on to TikTok live and like basically seeking gifts and galaxies and things like that. I do have to say I agree with James within that specific situation because I did see those clips of this guy, Zach Sellers, going onto TikTok live and basically seeking out gifts on TikTok. And I did think that that was a little bit opportunistic and it does seem like he is taking advantage of the Kayla situation. And obviously we know this is a very severe situation. If you guys have not seen, they ended up going to court and actually Evan Johnson, her ex, is going to be going to jail for 18 months. And I gotta say, seeing Zach, going on to live, I'm like, oh, it does take away from the severity of the situation because it does look like he is an opportunist and he is taking advantage of this. And this is where it like so easily gives James Charles ammunition against him. And this is where I'm just like, oh, I wouldn't have been doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because now he looks bad and now he looks like he's just a clout chaser and he's looking for money and to make popularity off the situation. And I think that it does take away from it. Before I play the clip, okay, I'm gonna like speed it up because it is 10 minutes. I'm trying to make it as short as possible, but I do think that it is necessary to watch the full video in its entirety, obviously, because he says so much. I am going to be reading some screenshots and I am so happy that he put the screenshots within that video because in my opinion, okay, I think there is some cracks within his stories and I do have more questions now than ever. This is why I'm so interested to hear out from Kayla. Low key, if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm kind of interested to know what Evan Johnson has to say about this situation because James Charles alleges that he did in fact not hook up with Evan, but he did confirm that Evan was at his house. I got some questions about that, okay? Let me go ahead and play this clip. It is very long, y'all, and then we're going to read the messages so you guys don't have to pause to read the messages that he does put up on the screen because I do have some questions about this whole entire situation. And now more than ever, y'all, I am so sorry. Like, I really was expecting him to get on the internet and say, like, he did hook up with the guy, but the fact that he's, like, doubling down and saying, no, we did not do anything, we watched a movie, I don't know about that, y'all. It is my opinion, my speculation that I really do think that they did something because let's go ahead and keep it real. Why are you having this guy come over to your house? Do you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I want you guys to pay attention to the wording of this, okay? Now, I do say that it is important because a lot of people, oh my gosh, if you head over to James Charles' TikTok account, oh my gosh, they are 100% fully on his side. The whole TikTok has shifted. Everyone was against James Charles. Now they're kind of on his side. I would definitely say within his comments, they are really on his side. And I'm like, Are people missing what I'm seeing? Like, maybe I'm seeing things people are not seeing because I see cracks within the story, and I do want to go ahead and read the text messages that he actually posted himself. And then I want to question something after, okay? Because you guys are going to hear him say within this clip that he was actually not very close with Kayla and he only hung out with her 3 times. That is very important, so please make sure you guys listen out for that, because I do have a major point to bring up within him only hanging out with Kayla 3 times, okay? Check out this clip right here.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form. Let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him, I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malec behind closed doors. I really hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malec and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through to how James Charles involved, the downfall, Bye Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting from the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that. I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malec. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't fucking blame her. After I watched the laughable interview between Be Better and Zach Sellers, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit lies and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight. At this point, I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zach Sellers and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit, made-up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done. This all started at the beginning of 2025 when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together. She told me she couldn't. She was crashing out because they had just broken up because he was crazy. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted joke asking could I have him now, and then asked what actually happened between them. All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform based off of lies and abuse, and whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him. I'm going to be so honest, I did not take this conversation very seriously, and obviously, now knowing what we all do, I fucking should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid. But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup. Maybe he cheated, maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes. A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. I wish that I would have asked more questions, but frankly, I didn't feel comfortable doing so. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malec just weren't close friends. I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through. We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did, because I should have never gotten involved with this, but I did not know what she was going through. I really fucking hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zach Sellers believed and then repeated on the Be Better podcast, which was that the relationship was toxic, they both said things and did things that they shouldn't have, and a bunch of other stories that genuinely made me believe Evan Johnson was the victim in the situation. He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man, and he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him, and he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so fucking dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide. We became closer, we would start FaceTiming, he was very suicidal and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out. All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her. I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very fucking messy situation that I should have never gotten involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home. As soon as Evan left LA, I immediately started making myself unavailable to him because I recognized that he was not the man he was telling me he was. But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation, and I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home. It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zach Sellers, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused. His messages genuinely seemed nice. He seemed like he was checking in, warning me to make sure that I was okay and have cut Evan off because he knew that we were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zach 3 months. So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me. What started off as a video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zach has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when Be Better flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview. Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit. To start rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zach is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life. That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zach, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single. Zach claims to know all this information to be true because he pressured Evan into getting drunk and telling him what happened on the trip. I don't know if Evan lied to him to make the trip seem more fun and exciting, or if Zachy literally just made this up for funsies. I would like to believe that that isn't the case and that he was manipulated in this situation as well, but he claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zach, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission. I've had far worse posted to me online that I did consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen. Be Better doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said. Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
Third, there's a new narrative started by Be Better that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now. I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I'm trying to silence people, but Be Better made a video basically saying that I'm working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have. But Be Better, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube, so YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because, again, they don't exist. Zach has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zach, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so fucking sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
After watching that back, I do got to keep it real, and I do feel like James Charles is very convincing within that video, and this is why millions of people are now believing his side of the story. I do got to say, though, it is a little bit questionable that he's over here relating his situation to this guy Evan's situation and basically saying that he was manipulated into believing that Evan was telling the truth against Kayla and making it seem like Kayla was the problem. However, I would think, y'all, and I understand that he said that he's not really close with Kayla, and that's totally fine. I do think that perceptions online are a little bit different. People will be like, oh, you guys were besties. And it's like, no, we actually weren't besties. We only kicked it a couple times and you guys saw a collaboration. Therefore, you guys thought we were close. I totally understand that point of view here. But if he did know Kayla first and there was any questions, why wouldn't he hit up Kayla and say, hey, your ex is telling me X, Y, and Z. is this true? Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, to have his back or have her back a little bit on this situation. And I don't know, I just really do find it to be a little bit peculiar that he's over here immediately believing Evan. It is my opinion that he had a strong, I would say, how do I say it? I guess S-ual attraction towards this guy. And I think maybe that's why he was so easily manipulated by him. I do want to go ahead and read these texts right here because I do think that this is important, because this is where James had reached out to Kayla and said, do you want to be in a painted video with your man? She writes back, I'm not even joking, this made me pissed. I broke up with him last fucking last night. I saw your story and was crashing out, laughed my ass off. Tune in for the 30-part Who the F Did I Marry series. He writes back, what? Girl, he's effing crazy. Kayla writes, what happened? Can I have him now? Now, I gotta say, okay, I have a very dark, crude sense of humor. I always say that all the time. So obviously I get humor because low-key I'm like that too. But I really feel like when your friend is even saying like, oh, we broke up, for you to even joke about that, like, y'all, I make jokes about everything. Y'all know me by now. I literally have a really like crude sense of humor. But when your friend is telling you that they broke up, okay, or not even friend, let's say acquaintance, your mutual, why would you write back and say, can I have him now? To me, that's a little crazy. And yes, I totally get it. Hey, maybe that's his sense of humor. I get it. He can write it off as a joke, and I guess I could understand, but I still do think that's a fucked up joke. If I'm keeping it so real with you guys, for him to sit out there and say, can I have him now? Like, obviously, he was like covering it up with laugh my ass off right after that. And he said, I'm so sorry, Kayla, you deserve better. The whole can I have him now, though, is actually kind of crazy if you think about it. But it just shows you what type of person he is, because I'm like, why would you even make a joke like that? You could have made a different type of joke. Do you know what I mean? You could have made a joke about beating his ass or something. That could have been a joke too. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, imagine like the worst things a human can do to you. It would take hours to text, but you'll see the series soon, because what the fuck? Laugh my ass off, but thank you so much. Congrats on all the painted love. And then he writes back, oh God, you're actually doing a series on it? I'm sorry. Oh, just wait, because I gave this man a platform based off his lies and abuse. But I'm gonna wait to heal from it and then clock it. And then he writes back, shit, heart, I'm sorry, Kayla. She said, you're so good. Thank you, sister. I just want to go ahead and say right here, okay? Him putting out these messages did, in fact, prove that he did know before he hung out with Evan that she said abuse, you know? And obviously, to James Charles' defense, I do gotta say, maybe to him, he's probably thinking maybe verbal abuse because she didn't say physical abuse. However, you still knew that there was abuse there nonetheless, and you still moved forward with hanging out with her ex. That's where I say him putting out these messages right here, clearly it's right there, and these messages are from January 27th, okay? James Charles did, in fact, hang out with him after that fact. So this is where I say James Charles is, oh my God, y'all, I am so sorry. My opinion still stands by him. Yes, I could understand some of the things that he was saying within the video of him saying like, oh, you know what, I believed him just like I wanted people to believe me and hear me out and things like that. I totally get it, but it is very questionable. This is my major point of making this video and what I wanted to talk about, because this is where I say, I'm sorry, but James Charles is shady as fuck, in my opinion, okay? I understand that maybe you guys are going to start hating on me now, because now obviously so many people are believing his side of the story, but here's why I'm saying what I'm saying. He said within his video, if you guys paid close attention to it, that he only hung out with Kayla 3 times. They were not close friends. How are you over here saying that this man manipulated you and you believed him in his story? You hung out with her 3 times. How many times have you hung out with this man? How many times have you hung out with this man for you to automatically believe his side of the story? You need to house him. You fly him over to your house and basically say like you're helping him cope. And then you're saying, oh, we just watched movies on the couch and ate popcorn or whatever the hell it was. Come on now. Like anybody with a brain would be like, wait, you hung out with Kayla 3 times and you're saying within that video to make everyone believe we're not close friends, but then you're saying, oh, you automatically believed her boyfriend. If you hung out with Kayla 3 times, how many times did you hang out with Evan? How did you get such a close connection with Evan? Like, this is where my mind was blown, because I'm like sitting here, why is everybody believing this man? You guys are all sitting here saying, oh, like, wait, they weren't even close friends like that. And yes, that's totally fine. I get that. And maybe he does know, like, he doesn't owe any loyalty to her because they weren't close friends. I get that. But everybody needs to stop and be like, wait, if you weren't close with Kayla, then how were you close with her man? Like, hello, let's put 2 and 2 here. And this is why I'm scrolling through his comments and I'm like, are people dumb or am I crazy? Like, I literally am looking at this and I'm like, why is nobody mentioning the fact that he specifically verbatim said that they only hung out 3 times, that they were not close friends, but then he had her ex-boyfriend come over and stay at his house? I'm sorry, that's where my mind was completely blown about this situation, because I was like, I'm sorry, but this video, I saw the cracks within the video. And I'm not that type of person. Y'all know me by now. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And I do think that he did have some valid points within his story. And I do think that it does suck that Kayla's story has now shifted from her story with her abusive ex to now James Charles, obviously, because he is such a massive content creator. And it did shift into that, to be quite honest with you. But I do think the underlying, issue is obviously James being a very shady friend. But then also it's kind of like, damn, it sucks for Kayla. But this is why I say I can't wait to hear from her, because I think this whole situation is a mess. I see the cracks in the story though. I am so sorry, yo. Like, I gotta keep it real. I'm like sitting over here like, damn, am I delusional? Because he literally showed the messages right there to where Kayla literally said the word abuse. And yes, I will give him the benefit of the doubt in this situation. Maybe he was thinking that she did mean verbal abuse, which is still bad, but obviously it's not as bad as physical abuse. And this is where I'm just kind of like, okay, so you did in fact already know that. And then you're over here saying that you weren't close with her, but then you're over here hanging out with her man. You weren't close with her, but then you believed this guy. Clearly, there was obviously some type of attraction there that he wanted to get him alone. It's my opinion that they at least kissed or something. You know what I mean? Yes, this guy, Zach Sellers, did say that he did see videos of them actually full on hooking up. But it's my opinion that they at least did something. I do want to go ahead and play another clip within this video because I thought this to be very peculiar. If you guys had kept up with Be Better's podcast, he did make a TikTok literally 1 hour. I'm like, y'all could literally look up the time. 1 hour before James Charles uploaded his video, Be Better uploaded a video and said exactly how he's going to do his whole entire like apology video. And Be Better was right down to a T, y'all. Everyone's over here like bashing Be Better and saying like, oh my gosh, he's in everybody's business. It's like, y'all, everybody on the internet is on everybody's business. I hate when people speak out about a situation, or if they're like nosy about a situation, that makes them a horrible person all of a sudden. Because it's like, realistically, we all pay attention to any type of drama online or any type of gossip online or rumors online. We all do it. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to go ahead and play this clip that somebody pieced together on TikTok, to where they were going over Be Better's TikTok and then James Charles' apology, because y'all, I was like, he literally clocked it before it came out. Check it out.
I believe that James will completely deny having any prior knowledge of the abuse.
I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes.
And he will also flat out deny that the relationship with Evan Johnson was ever sexual.
Evan Johnson and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here.
Next, I think that James will actually emphasize that Evan was suicidal and that James was simply just trying to help as a friend.
He was very suicidal and depressed.
I think that he will draw parallels to his own experience being canceled, where his mind went to a very dark place, and that he was simply trying to assist a friend through a life experience that he had also shared.
When I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide.
I also believe that he's going to portray his extended silence as a selfless act that he did to simply protect Kayla and avoid giving Evan Johnson's legal team any ammunition to use against her.
I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that.
We know for a fact Evan Johnson was at his house. Whether or not he's able to convince people that nothing happened and they simply baked cookies and went to church together,
all we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies.
Finally, I believe at the end, he's either going to threaten or announce some type of legal action.
I am suing Zach Sellers.
So when you eventually do watch his response video, please view it with a critical eye and understand that you are viewing a meticulously crafted effort to alter public perception that was likely designed by a team of lawyers and public relations professionals who literally do reputation management for a living.
I gotta say, he really knew exactly what James Charles was going to do, and everything that he said did come out to be exactly right. And I gotta say, I'm sorry, but I still really do see the cracks in James Charles' story. Yes, I do understand there is now millions of people that are writing for James Charles. And I do understand why. I do think that his video obviously was very convincing, especially because people were like, wait, like, hold on, like they weren't even close friends like that. Obviously, he doesn't owe her anything. It is still shady nonetheless. Like, to be honest with you guys, even if I like hooked up with like a coworker's like boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, I still would feel shady about that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't even do that. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Also, I gotta keep it real though. This is just me, just because I like truth, I like honesty. I do think that if he did in fact hook up with him, like, I think that it would have been really good for him and actually for his reputation if he just said that. Like, if he really got out there and said, you know what, yes, we did have, you know, an adult affair or whatever, and I'm so wrong for that or whatever, like, then I would have been like, oh, he would have earned my respect immediately. But for him to double down on, no, we did not do anything, I call bullshit on that. Oh, excuse me. I call bullshit on that, because I'm like, you're going to have him come over to your house and y'all are just sitting there. Like, come on. I don't know. I do gotta say this though. He did come out and he did say that this guy Zach Sellers, he is going to be suing this guy Zach Sellers, and I'm so curious to see if that does play out in court and if this guy does, actually have proof and receipts, because as of right now, he's not really showing anything. You know what I'm saying? So everyone is going over to this guy Zach Sellers' TikTok and saying, wait, you're not showing any receipts, but James Charles did in fact show receipts. So this is where I'm like, oh, I'm questioning things, because if this guy does have proof, I think he does need to put it out there, because obviously then James Charles will be like, oh shit. Also, I do got to say that he did say, I was thinking about playing his TikTok within today's video, but then I was like, damn, this video is going to be so long. He did say within his TikTok that basically, if he does end up going to court with James Charles, that I guess that court-ordered subpoena could actually get the vanish mode DMs from James Charles' account. I do think that there probably is some truth to that, because obviously if it comes down to the situation of, oh, like James Charles is trying to sue him for defamation, but there is in fact proof, I do think that James Charles' DMs could be on the line here, which then obviously would prove a lot of things, which I don't think James Charles would want those DMs out there. It has been rumored now, okay, let me just say that, allegedly, that James Charles only talks to people that he's considering on vanish mode on Instagram, so that way nothing is saved, because he has learned now, like, oh, I gotta talk in this way, so that way all the messages get wiped away. So I am so curious to see how this does play out, and if in fact he does pursue a lawsuit against this guy Zach Sellers, because I do think then he's obviously going to have to, put more information out there that he's not going to want out there. Also, too, I gotta say though, if the Zach Sellers guy does have receipts, like put the receipts out so that way we could see him. You know what I'm saying? So that way people could believe your side of the story a little bit more. Also, I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning of this video that Kayla did end up going to court, and then her ex, she actually won the case, and he's going to jail for 18 months. So I do think justice was served within that specific situation, and this is why I think James Charles had to speak out, because now it is a proven fact that he is an abuser, and he is literally going to jail for it. I am so curious to know your guys' thoughts and opinions about this whole entire situation, being that obviously everyone is Team James Charles now. Please let me know what you guys think about this whole situation, to where he did in fact know that she said right there abuse, like he did know about it, and then he did proceed to hook up with let me not say hook up, okay, allegedly hook up with her ex. I'm so curious to know. Okay, let's just go ahead and say this. Even if he were to hang out with, I still think that it's shady. Do you know what I mean? Considering that he did in fact know that she said right there abuse from him, and then he hung out with the ex, I think that's still shady. Even if he didn't hook up with him, it's still shady in my personal opinion. Also, one last question that I mentioned so much within this video, and I'm curious to know your guys' opinion of, is how do you guys feel of him saying that he wasn't close to Kayla, but then all of a sudden he's close enough to be able to house this guy over here? Let's go ahead and keep it real here. Obviously, he did have a strong connection to him, or attraction to him. He did want to do a little something with him, because I'm like, how are you saying you're not close to Kayla, but then you care to house her ex? Like, what world are we living in that, oh, I'm not close to her, but I'm close to him? You obviously met him through her, and you've only hung out with her 3 times. So please let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions about that. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, Girl Scout.